If you have a very well designed product not marketed well, it is doomed to fail.
Welcome, Ansh. He is an AI expert.
For most people, the issue is not that they set a goal and they didn't achieve it. The issue is that they set a goal and they actually achieved it, and then they realize that we were thinking too small.
Welcome, Ansh. Welcome, Ansh. Welcome, Ansh.
I think there's power in saying no.
So it's extremely important that from day one, you go beyond your means. Absolutely go crazy. Because in most cases, you think that you are imagining the best version of yourself, but it's probably you being brainwashed by the matrix.
Everything that needs to be said is already said. Say it again one more time so they will listen. Vanakkam, welcome and Morians to Purely Personal Podcast. This is not about getting that job. This is not about getting that promotion. This is not about starting your own business. This is about your personal brand. When you have your own brand, you can do all of these. My name is Daniel Paul. I'm your host. I'm a personal branding coach, fractional CMO, and an AI enthusiast. Today, we have someone very special, someone that I personally admire for the intellect and the hard work he has put in his life for the good of everybody that follows him. He is someone who's an inspiration for youngsters, and it is my pleasure to welcome the one and only amazing Ansh Mehra. Welcome, Ansh.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing me here, Danny.
It is amazing to see how a 25-year-old guy can have all of this background, all of this experience, knowledge. How did you do it? Like, literally, how?
I still feel I have a long way to go. And we were discussing this before the recording started that because I post a lot, people feel that I'm doing a lot of things, whereas my entire day is now just about figuring out what to say no to. I think earlier I was saying yes to a lot of things. Now my entire energy is just about where do I need to spend my time and energy? How do I recruit the right kind of people? And how do I motivate them to be a part of this machine where we're building our own tech product and then content? So I think it's all about being very passionate about what you do, but working on the right things and then having people with you who can help you get there.
I think there's power in saying no. It doesn't come just at the beginning of your career. It needs to have when you've achieved something, then you can say no. So that is my question, going back to the question, how did your journey start? What made you actually think like, okay, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I think we can say no at the very start of our careers as well because a lot of people feel that whatever is the most popular way is the best way. And when we're very young, we often take advice from people around us, thinking that the people around us will give us best advice. Whereas in reality, that is really unoptimized. People who can really give you good advice are just not connected with you. So you should just probably rely on books and the internet and interviews of really successful people rather than asking people around you. And now that we have something like Claude or ChatGPT, you can literally put in what you are planning to do and it will help you navigate your path. But when I started out, I had nothing. Nothing was clear for me, and I always wanted to be a filmmaker as a school student. But my parents never really felt that filmmaking was like a legit thing, and I see their perspective because now that I've lived my life for 4 5 years post college, I've realized that maybe I was just filmmaking was just a hobby for me. If I had pursued filmmaking, maybe I wouldn't have been such an incredible filmmaker. So thank God I didn't pursue my passion because sometimes a lot of people confuse their passions with their hobby. Filmmaking was my hobby. But now that I see filmmakers, the patience that they need, the kind of struggles they go through, it is so difficult to make good money as a filmmaker. I'm very happy I didn't pursue my passion. And I ended up pursuing computer science. There I realized I cannot do coding. I wanted to do something which has high leverage. So I picked up a field which was very underrated back then, which was product design. Joined Swiggy, then realized that I should probably enter a startup. Joined this company called Zuddle as their first employee, first designer. After 2 years, again switched my role and became a product marketer because I realized that at the start of my career, it's better to learn marketing than product design. You can have a
Hmm.
terribly designed product marketed well and it would still be profitable, but not the other way around. If you have a very well designed product not marketed well, it is doomed to fail. So while learning all of these things on my own, I started creating content online because I always, number one, wanted to be famous, which has now changed, by the way. Now my priorities are different. But when I was young, I really wanted to be famous. I really wanted to be popular. I wanted to make sure that if I walk into a room, everybody knows me and acknowledges my work. Then I wanted to be free. I wanted to travel the world and I wanted to have enough money, which is not on a hand to mouth basis, so that I'm not waiting for the 31st to get a salary into my account. If I want to buy something at 15th of every month, I should be able to do that. And I think because I was an introvert, I never got a lot of attention as a student in my school days. So I was very hungry for that validation that, oh, notice me, like I'm doing something incredible. And the thing is, to get noticed in school, there are only two popular ways of getting noticed in your school and college. It's either your good looks or your money. Barely anyone cares about who's getting like top marks. And now after college, I've realized looks also don't matter that much. If you have a lot of money that you haven't earned, now people just mock you. So the right way is to actually be really, really good at what you do in life and just keep working on it and just build something which is way bigger than you so that you can eventually scale and not prioritize fame, because fame is actually not that good.
Let me stop you there and ask you a question. You said when you were young, you wanted to walk in a room and everybody, should recognize you. You wanted to everybody to recognize you. But you said that has changed. What made it
Yeah.
change?
Because I feel like fame is very overrated. There are a lot of upsides to being famous at a mass scale, but the downsides are way more heavier. Now I want to walk into a room and just make sure that the most valuable and the most important guy knows me. Everybody else should not know who I am, because that gives you even more power. Because then you can operate very low key and nobody will ever know what is your next move. But when you're in the public eye, everyone will know who you are, what you're up to, who your wife is, who are your children, where do you live. Every single move that you make is being noticed by millions of people all over the world. So, real wealth is in having regular cash flows, regular access to people who are at the top 1%, and without any distractions. Because when you get famous, you actually invite a lot of distractions. You get invited to a lot of things, and it gets very difficult to say no to those things because all of these things are so glamorous and so shiny. It is way, way better to live a very simple, a very strong, and a very sturdy life where you're not just showing off and telling people what you're up to. I have to do it now because I'm building my brand. So by design, I have to do this. But if I had an option, I would not tell anybody where I am, what I'm working on. I would just drop the result. That too, I would just tell people who need to know and just focus on my health and my family.
It's a contradictory statement, right? Like you want to be known by the most powerful person in the room, but in order for the most powerful person to be known, in order for the most powerful person to know you, you should become known. How do
Yeah.
you manage that? Like, now you are a celebrity on social media, everyone knows you. Do you think without that recognition that you have, the most powerful person in the room will still recognize you?
So that's the interesting part. When I started out, I had a document where I would write down my affirmations and goals as to where do I need to go. And I had written this thing like, so there were a few Indian creators that I always wanted to know, and there were like a few entrepreneurs that I wanted to know. This includes people like Ranveer Alabadia, Beer Biceps, Tanmay Bhatt, Chetan Bhagat. This is for India. And for the abroad, I wanted to be known to Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, Elon Musk. And at that time, I had written this in my document that I want to make such great videos that I want these people to just come and notice me. That, oh, Ansh makes such great videos. But then I realized that maybe I don't want to be known for my great videos. At this point, I want to be known for the products that I build. I want to be known for the kind of solutions I'm bringing into this world. Like 5 years ago, maybe my goal was to maybe launch an AI course, make around say 1 CR a year, because that is what a lot of creators are making. And I was like, this is my goal. But now I've realized that if I sell a course, first of all, I will always be self-employed, whereas in reality you should aim to run a business and not be self-employed. And there's a key man risk involved here. By the way, Ali Abdal has just recently uploaded this one video where he's spoken
Mhm.
about the failure of his latest startup called Light Mode. He had
Okay.
recently launched a keyboard, a mechanical keyboard, and it took him almost $300,000 of investment to create that brand, and it failed miserably. And that entire video is him breaking down the entire mistake stack and him explaining that if he's making so much money from content, why build a business in the first place? So, coming back to where I started, I feel like you should pick one specific field, just target the top 1%, and then figure out how can you give value to them. And the only way that you can give value to them is by being really good at what you do. And to become really good at what you do, you need to spend at least 8 to 9 years minimum. Like, this is the average. Because of social media, we feel like maybe something magical can happen in 2 to 3 years, but that's just
Mm,
impossible. You can become a really good creator in 3 to 4 years. You can hit 1 million subscribers in 3 to 4 years. Even the money that you make as a creator is 4 times more than what an average business would do. But the shelf life of a creator is also one fourth of an average business.
yeah.
So you sort of fizzle out. So I think you can reach the top 1% if you're really focused on one niche, one category, and one service and just double down for 10 years.
That's a great advice. That's a great advice. Let me get back to the university. I want to know a little bit more about what are the challenges that Ansh had transitioning from computer science engineering background to the world of UX design.
I was just unaware. And I think most people fail not because they didn't work hard, but it's mostly because they were unaware of alternate routes. And I was completely anxious and panicked about doing something in the world of coding because that is what everybody else was doing around me. And I was broke just like every other college student. And my parents had invested money into my degree. So for them, I'm sort of like a fixed deposit, and I'm sort of maturing at the fourth year of my BTech degree. It's their fixed deposit getting matured. And because I'm the single child, it sort of doubles down. When you have two children, even if one fails, you sort of have hopes with the other one. So you still
You didn't
can
have an option.
yeah, for me, it was not an option. I had to succeed and give them the ROI. So at that point, I noticed that if you really want to make money, you have to operate in a field where your skill is in high demand and the supply
Mm,
is really low. That's why I navigated into a field like UX or product design, which I knew is going to be in high demand, but the supply is really low. And then I read this book called Ikigai, where it said that you have to find something that you're really good at, that you're passionate about, and the world is willing to pay you for.
pay for it.
So I felt like product design was a nice intersection between creativity and technology that helped me make some money, but I had a lot of other major issues in college days as well because I was extremely weak, like physically. I
Hmm.
did not know how to think clearly. I had major anxiety issues. I had major self-image issues because I had terrible acne because of my diet. I had major like hair issues. My style was all over the place. I barely knew how to operate in social circuits. So now I look back and I realize that why do people over index on skills and certifications? Whereas in reality, they should focus on things like diet, sleep, soft skills, influence, charisma, sense of style, your physique, your skincare. All of these things matter so much, but I find so few people talking about it.
Thank you for sharing this, Ansh. This is something that I didn't know about you. And it must have been hard being a teenager in school having all of this. But
Yeah.
now Ansh is super successful. Who is your greatest support, Ansh?
My books and my online YouTube videos have been the greatest support. I don't think because there were people around me who tried to help me, but to be honest, there's nobody who can help you out. Like they can just give you some support when you're low or when you're sad. Maybe you can vent out to them, but it's only you who can fix your life. So if I had to like give a lot of validation or a lot of value to something that has helped me, it's just going to be YouTube and books, specifically Think and Grow Rich, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, Principles by Ray Dalio, Naval Ravikant. There's another book called Rework. So all of these books really, really shaped up my brain. In fact, I was reading Think and Grow Rich yesterday. I have a copy that I bought in my college days. And I've read that book almost like 4 or 5 times. And yesterday I was at the last chapter and I still found something that I had not understood, even after the fourth read.
Mm,
So I just feel like there's so much to take from these books, and if you are not getting any support from anyone around you, don't expect anything from them. In fact, like I expect that nobody is going to do anything. That is the best way to live life, having like least expectation from everyone, and expect that you'll have to do this on your own.
Interesting, because you're not alone, and I've been in a similar situation when I was young. My looks were bad, and self confidence plummeted. So your 2 cents now is read books and watch YouTube. What are the other advices? Because not everyone might be reading books, right? So it comes with internal whom you have seen and what is your passion. If someone doesn't like to read books, what is the other suggestion? Like teenagers are, I know bullying happens at school, because you have been there, you've gone past that, you've become super successful. If it's your two piece of advice that would give to every kids, teenagers that are struggling in a similar situation like us, what would your 2 cents be?
I would want to add at least 7 to 8 things, because just two, three things won't really matter. So,
Yeah.
number one would be find a skill that can be sold to a tech business. It could be design, development, management, or marketing. First of all, just be really good at something. Otherwise, people will not value in the society. Like the entire society runs on capitalism, where if you're not giving someone anything, they will not value you. If you're a nobody, if you have like wealth and if you have dad's money, then people will respect you. But if you're a nobody, you have to be really good. Second, go to the gym and increase your protein intake and just focus on your both macros and micros so that you have enough energy in your body to pursue your goals. And I heard this very interesting quote from Dr. Velumani, who's the founder of Thyrocare. It's like a 3,000 crore company or something. And he said that there are only two types of people in this world: one who are successful, and other who got distracted. So technically, if you don't get distracted and if you double down on anything in your life, I think you will achieve it. But while you are fixing your goals, just talk to as many people as you can. I would recommend every teenager to go to the club almost like once a month. Like go to the most fanciest club in your city. If your city has no clubs, I would probably recommend you to watch some movies that are around that topic, around charm and clubbing in general. You can watch a nice TV show like Succession or Suits, or, any show that shows you strong people. Now, I am a guy, so obviously I would be drawn to strong male characters, right? So I'm really, really drawn to alpha males who are shown in movies and videos. And then I try to pick things from their style as to how they carry themselves. And just be very aware of the fact that you're probably brainwashed to think small. No matter how much motivation or energy you put into your goals, if you're working on something small, it's even worse. Because now that I'm moving forward, I have a lot of friends who had set very specific goals in their school days and in their college days, and now they've achieved them. And it's very interesting that for most people, the issue is not that they set a goal and they didn't achieve it. The issue is that they set a goal and they actually achieved it, and then they realize that we were thinking too small.
Hmm.
So it's extremely important that from day one, you go beyond your means, absolutely go crazy with a very big vision. Because in most cases, you think that you are imagining the best version of yourself, but it's probably you being brainwashed by the matrix, and you're just thinking small. Whatever you're thinking, just ask yourself, can I multiply this by 10? And can I achieve this in the next 10 years? And just make sure that you are focusing on your sense of style. You are learning a bit about charisma. If you're a guy, then try to speak to all kinds of people, which includes boys and girls. A lot of guys just shy away from speaking to girls, whereas in reality, a girl's emotional quotient is going to be way, way more higher than your EQ. And there's a lot to learn from their EQ. And I have personally benefited from my ability to hang around in different circles. So I would spend some days with coders, some days with like these influencers, some days with tech folks, some days with artists, and all of them have their own mini bubbles of reality. So I think it's
Hmm.
very important to just hop from one mini bubble to another bubble and just figure out the patterns that are operating everywhere.
Lovely. And I like how you think about going back to your own times. You wish you had done this, because now that you're doing it, you're telling the exact advices or things that people can do. And I think it's a brilliant advice, because no one tells like go to the club, no one tells like go talk to girls. So I think it's very, very lovely to hear from someone who's young, who's wishing the other youngsters to do this. Gratitude is like a really big skill, and I see that in you a lot. And that's something, gratitude and empathy. I've seen that from Ansh. Has there been a moment when you've doubted yourself? Has there been any person or anyone that has said, like, hey, you're here for the long run, Ansh? Get up, make every move count.
Yeah, so the thing is that as an introvert, I rarely share what I'm feeling. So I don't think I show that side of mine to even to my close friends or family members. And what happens is that if you're a very strong, independent person from day one, the people around you never really expect you to feel low in general. So because you're the one that they come to when like shit hits the roof.
Mm,
So I think you get a lot of natural sympathy if people expect you to feel weak. I think in my case, they were always like, yeah, it's Sanchi, he'll probably figure it out. And even if he's
wow.
low, he'll just probably like figure it out. He doesn't need like motivation from us because we come to him for his problems. So that's one downside of being someone who's always on the go, always hustling. Because they would always feel like, oh, this guy doesn't need help. But in reality, everyone needs help. And you were asking, are there times when I doubt myself? Of course, I would doubt myself. Like at least once a week, there is this 1 hour where I would feel that, oh, am I doing the right thing? Is this the best thing possible? And even now, once I've left my job, I'm sort of investing money into hiring a better team, building a tech product, working on content. And with the influencer world, like it's so bad, like brands delay their payments for 60 days, 75 days, but you still have to pay your team, you still have to pay
Yeah,
your stuff. So while the brands are delaying payments, my debt is going up and up, and I have to sort of navigate all of that to make sure that things don't break here. And I'm also pursuing people who are yet to pay me, because in a salary you can easily expect payments on time. But when you're
yeah,
running a business, when you're working on content, if that brand says that we will pay you after 90 days, you can't fight with them because they are the source of your income. And this is
yeah.
the reason why I don't like content in general.
Well, but yet you did it, and you're 100% like now a content creator. And
Yes.
I want to switch now into the role of personal branding. Ansh is a brand. You started with having an idea of, online presence, and you were very clear from the beginning what you wanted to achieve. Of course, it changed and modified and became better over time. And how has your background in design has influenced your journey to AI?
So there are two parts to this. Number one is, how did I approach my personal brand, and how has my experience in design helped me get here? Whatever design has helped me with, it's mostly been very tactical, and I think anybody can learn that. You can learn design very easily: basics of design, basics of psychology, writing a great hook. All of these are execution based tasks. But what would really stand you out are your values. And I've been thinking about this very deeply. In fact, I have a document now where I've written down the values for our company. And whatever decision that we make, whatever brands we say yes to, whatever video we edit, we keep asking ourselves that, is this end product in alignment with the values we have for the company? For example, one of the values is that we will make content only for the sincere student, or we will
Mm,
optimize for respect and not attention. Now, just as a quick example, when we say that we will optimize for respect and not attention, that means that I will never write hooks that do not deliver. I will never make a thumbnail that has like thousands of dollars and a pretty girl with me on the beach. Just because I know I will get attention on that, I will not do it, because I'm
yeah,
thinking about like a 10-year long game. So I think it's very, very important that for you to understand that a brand is nothing but a group of people who have similar values, or people who want to imbibe those values eventually. When you see a Nike sign, you feel like, I want to be a part of something which is more successful, more swift, right? When you see something like Under Armour, you're like, yeah, I like Dwayne Johnson, I like his hustle, I want to be that person, I share those values. And it's also important as a brand to very be explicit about what you're against. So you not only tell people what you stand for, you need to tell people what you stand against. Because imagine if you and I meet at a party, you're seeing me for the very first time. Case number one, I tell you that I love the Avengers, and you're like, yeah, I love the Avengers too. That's decent. Like, you can be on the same page with someone if both of you like something. Now if I met you for the first time and I was like, I hate pineapples on pizza, and if you
mm,
hate pineapples on pizza as well, you will love me even more, because similar hate, shared hate, brings people together more than shared likings,
yeah,
right? So if you are very clear, for example, in the case of Apple, Apple hates cheap products. Apple hates bad design. Steve Jobs said that we will never ship junk. And I really resonate with that. And I know what he stands against, what he hates. He hates clunky
Yeah.
icons, he hates bad packaging. I hate them too. That makes me like Apple even more. So I think as a brand, if you focus on these nuanced things, things that are not visible, actually those are the most valuable things. If you can look at someone's success and easily figure out why they became successful, it's pretty much obvious that other people will replicate the same because the prescription is so clear. Like a very quick
Mm,
litmus test, I was actually talking to my content team. So on Instagram these days, you know that they're no longer showing you views, they show you plays. If it shows you 1M, it's not 1 million unique viewers, it's 1 million plays.
please. Yeah.
So if you make comedy content which is just 8 seconds long, on average, a person would watch it 3 times or share with their friends,
Yep.
which means that automatically your views become into three
Yep.
because it's a short duration reel. Now, I saw one more reel which was just a list of quotes, 5 quotes, and it
Yep.
was a 3 second long reel.
Yep.
Now, because it's a 3 second long reel, when I was watching it, I saw it at least 10 times because I was reading the entire paragraph. It takes at least 30 seconds to read what the story says. So
Yep.
that reel had 18 shares, but 500K views.
Mm,
Right now, if a brand comes to that page, if that brand is very naive, he would just scroll and be like, dude, this guy's getting 500K, 600K. But that is not 500K, 600K because the shares are just 18 shares,
yep.
right? So this page is actually optimizing to get attention and not respect. These are vanity
Yep.
metrics that the brand is chasing. Whereas if you want to be a long term brand, you have to chase metrics that really matter.
100%. And just talking about your values and the content that you create, I've watched your videos. There's something beautiful about your posters. They are so simple, yet so difficult at the same time. What I mean is that you have the tendency on simplifying even the most complex topic in content creation, and it's not easy, right? What I mean by so simple and so difficult is you take the difficult topic, make it so easy. How do you do it?
I think because as a student, I had a very difficult time understanding things in general. I was a very slow student. And it took me a lot of time to find the right tutors for myself because I changed teachers every week because every teacher used to complicate a lot of things. And because I was a very slow student, I expected the teacher to bring it down to a very dumb level. So I've had really good teachers growing up who could really simplify my physics, chemistry, maths, and I learned from them. And then I've been reading a lot of good content written by people who follow the same practice. So they would simplify really complicated things. Naval Ravikant, Ray Dalio, Andrew Chen, all Y Combinator blogs, anything written by Sam Altman. All of these people, they write very clearly. It's very easy to understand. So I think it starts with you reading something very well written, then you eventually graduate to thinking clearly, then you start speaking clearly, and you sort of start writing clearly, and then you start influencing clearly, and then you sell clearly. So selling clearly is at the very top of the pyramid. So I think number one, every thought that I share on social media is actually not mine. It's a remix of thoughts that I've collected in the past 1 week. So a lot of people feel that, oh, Ansh is so smart, he's able to come up with all of these thoughts. Whereas most of my thoughts are very unoriginal. I've probably just picked 5, 6 things from different sources and clubbed them together with my own perspective on top of it, because I don't think anything under the sun is unique. That is the entire principle of astrology and horoscope, that it's just the same patterns and stories repeating at a cycle of 100 or 150 years. If there was any person who was 500 years old, he would just come to me and say that, dude, I see this every 5 decades. It's the same thing. It's just the
Yeah.
same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. Every single invention that we see, the fact that you're speaking to me, you're using your mic and your camera, if you really think about it, all of the core ingredients were available on this planet even like millions of years ago. So people say that humans are inventing something new, whereas in reality, they're discovering ways of just combining things together. We've not
Yeah.
invented anything. Everything was already there under the sun. There's no alien who's throwing these gadgets. So it's very interesting as to what all is there to explore on this planet if you really think about it.
This reminds me of a quote. I think it's from the book Show Your Work. It says, everything that needs to be said is already said. Say it again one more time so they will listen. So I
Wow.
love the vulnerability that you put through on a public platform. You're saying that I'm not creating anything new. I'm just
Yeah.
curating content. You know who says that? Someone who is confident about his work, confident about what he is doing will say that. Someone who is beginner will not like, no, that's my own content. I did all by myself. So that tells a lot of character. And again, going back to your empathy and your gratitude. And every time you mention these amazing creators and writers, it tells that how it has influenced and shaped your life. I want to ask a couple of questions. First is like you are now transitioned to a content creator, a business owner, and so on. But has there been any significant moment in your design consult or AI educator career that is like, oh, that moment actually made me change, or that moment actually made me realize this is what I want to do?
So, for a very long time, my mission was to spread awareness about design and psychology because I felt like it was a very underrated field. But when I saw ChatGPT, when I saw the kind of magic and power it holds, I was like, dude, this is going to change everything. This literally changes everything. When I say everything, it means how we work, how we research, how we learn, how we find solutions, how we create medicine, how do we treat people. And nobody around me was talking about this. So this is back in 2022, maybe November 2022, when all of this started. And I spoke to my friends. I was like, dude, there's this new thing called Chat GPT, and there's this thing called an LLM, which is called a large language model. And they were like, why should we care about this? And that made me realize that people don't care about features, they care about outcomes as to what this feature can do for them. And that is when I started learning more about AI and content creation, because the entire principle of content creation is how can you use someone's interest as a bait and then sell them the solution to their pain. So every hook, every content piece has two components. It is you figuring out the interest of your audience and then the pain of your audience. And I learned this from my friend Ganesh Prasad, who runs this YouTube channel called Think School. He teaches this again and again. There's this brand in India called Axe. I think it's a global brand. And Axe had this campaign in India where they wanted to sell deodorants. And they had this campaign called Axe Angels, where they would show like a really lanky, weak guy entering a store and he would put axe on him, and then like angels would just fall from the sky and just run towards him, right? So what is Axe doing? Axe is creating a hook which is catered towards the interest of the audience. What is the interest of the male audience? It is to get attention. But what is the pain of the audience? To have a deodorant that lasts long. Now, if Axe were to make an ad that just complimented how the fragrance is long lasting and it smells great, it looks great, the people will not care. So
Mm,
when I make a YouTube video, I would never make a YouTube video that says learn Claude and prompt engineering, because I know that is the pain of the audience. That is what they actually need, but they would never click on that. So
yeah,
then my thumbnail would say something like get 1,000 plus ideas in 1 second. That is interesting,
yeah.
right? How to save 100 hours of work every week. That is the interest. So I think as a content creator and an AI enthusiast, I've been spending my last 2 years just figuring out how can I learn something which is very new. Because if
Mhm.
I learn something which is very new, people will pay me attention. But then
Yeah.
at the very same time, because learning that thing is very easy, I am also aware that a lot of people will learn the same thing very soon. So there's an arbitrage window. I can make some money in that limited time period till the time people are catching up. But if I stay complacent thinking that, oh, I just know a bit of prompt engineering, I know a bit of AI and UX, and I'm sorted forever, that's me being stupid. Because if I could learn it in 6 months, I'm pretty sure anybody else can also learn it in 6 months. So now my goal is how do I keep evolving every three
Mm,
or 4 months so that anytime somebody talks to me, they're like, dude, this guy just keeps getting better and better. Like by the
yeah.
time we catch up to where he is, he's just so ahead.
And because you said one important point is like people can catch up so faster. And some of them haven't started their own personal branding. Like they don't know the power of showing up online and building your own brand. How can you as an AI enthusiast now say someone can use AI to grow their personal branding? Guys, these are the X number of steps. Start now. What would your advice be for them?
So I think the most important distinction here is that you don't need to start as a creator. You can always be a curator, which
Yeah.
Sahil Bloom does, right? So you can just write about what you're doing in the public, because if you're shy of coming on camera, you can just start writing. And to get ideas, you go to Claude, you say, this is who I am, this is what I'm interested in, this is my target audience, 18 to 21 years of age, in college, interested in personal finance. Give me 10 ideas for a LinkedIn post. And then what you need to do is start writing and then start scripting. So the thing is, you first just do a brain dump of whatever it is that is coming in your mind, and then you go into Claude or ChatGPT or Copilot and then just ask for hooks and structures and perspectives. Like, this is something that I do. I was launching a video editing course and I had put my entire script into Claude and I said, tell me any perspectives that are missing from a beginner's point of view. And you should follow the waterfall model, which basically says that you write a Twitter thread, you convert that into a LinkedIn post, then you convert that into an Instagram carousel, then you take that carousel, make it into a reel, and put it on YouTube short. So you take one piece of content, and the waterfall just keeps going down and down. Create a schedule for yourself. Just tell yourself that I will post Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. That is the best time, because you take the first weekday where people are not very anxious, because on Monday everyone is busy catching up on their work. So Tuesday 6 p.m., Saturday 6 p.m., best time to post. And always, I always use Chat GPT and Dali to create an image when I don't have a LinkedIn image, because on LinkedIn, if you add an image with your text post, it just does better. You just get more attention. So at this point, if I don't have a relevant image, I would just go onto my Chat GPT, get a quick image, and put it with my text post, and it
Mhm.
does so well. So these are like small ways to just get started, and I've created like in-depth videos on this on the channel. So if anyone is interested, you can always watch those.
We'll link the channel and the YouTube and all of your social handles so people can go and check. So,
Done.
since we're on the same line of AI, what would Ansh's recommendation of AI tools for someone that wants to grow their personal brand be? You already discussed some. What else would be there?
So I think you should not fall in love with a specific tool. I think you should learn how to prompt, because tools may come and go, but the ability to ask the right question, the ability to set the context and adding the constraint is very important. And prompt engineering is nothing but your ability to just set context and add constraints. So I would recommend you to start with Claude, because apparently it is way more creative. If you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, Copilot is a great option because it's completely free and it also creates images and text and it can search the internet. So if you're researching on a specific topic, Copilot can do all of that, and the answers are as close as ChatGPT 4, which is $20 a month. And on Monday, Sam Altman is going to announce a bunch of new things. So I'm just excited as to what OpenAI has in store. So on Monday, we have Sam Altman's event. On Tuesday, we have Google I/O. So it's all back to back. So next week is going to be really, really epic for the world of AI. So it's 11th May right now for anybody who's watching. So it's going to be so much fun. And as a creator, just make sure that you use AI for your first draft and not your last draft. A lot of creators use AI for their last draft, which means that you would put something into an AI tool and then ask it to rewrite it. When you do that, you will end up sounding like everybody else who's using the same tool. So the real genius is when you use AI in ways where it's almost invisible to detect. That's what I've been
Yep.
doing with my YouTube videos, and that would be my recommendation to everyone.
So, we come to the last part of the podcast and a very important question. If someone wants to get that job, if someone wants to get that promotion, if someone wants to start their own business, does building a personal brand help? If so, what do you think people who haven't started should do now?
So, first of all, we have to clearly define what a personal brand means. Personal brand is not just your profile having 500K followers on social media. For me, a lot of my personal branding happens offline. And an offline personal brand will actually help you way more than your online personal brand. Like, for example, a lot of my creator friends focus too much on webinars and online workshops, whereas I am doubling down on offline workshops. And even in those offline workshops, I'm targeting a very specific set of students and entrepreneurs and founders that I know will vibe with me. So when I speak to someone in the real world, every single conversation is reflecting my personal brand. So my personal brand is that if there's Ansh's name on something, it has to be high quality. If Ansh has been working on something, it will be good. That is literally like my aspirational personal brand. If I'm gifting you something, it has to be the topmost quality. If I'm sending you a car to get you picked from an event, the car has to be clean, it has to smell good. Any single interaction that you have with me or with my team members or anything with my name on it has to feel extremely premium and extremely good. So, a personal brand is not just what you put on the internet, but it is actually a reflection of everything that you do. If I'm meeting someone, if I'm shaking hands with someone, if I'm treating someone well, that is also a part of my personal brand. And that's what I'm training my team to do as well, because at a certain level, if somebody interacts with my team, that is also some extension of my personal brand as to how do Ansh's team members behave in the real world. And I keep telling my team that you have to be smart, you have to be sharp, you have to go to the gym, you have to be fit, because I don't want to build a company where just the founder is really fit and smooth. I want to build a company where every single person is happy, enjoying, they're healthy, and not just like physically healthy, because that's a very stupid misconception. I know a lot of people who look very good, but internally their health is messed up. So, like, just to like redefine what being healthy is. And I think that you can start with really small steps, which means that you can build in public, post on LinkedIn and Twitter as much as you can, because all the video platforms are getting saturated. Instagram is getting really saturated. It's way better to post on X, Threads, and LinkedIn. And I've learned this from you. Just have the ability to interact with the post of other people and comment in ways that doesn't sound like a generic templatized answer. It has to be an answer that makes sense, and target the top 1%, just the top 1%. Do not optimize to impress a lot of other people, because in my life, the pattern that I've seen is that I would be writing, building my personal brand, doing a lot for a lot of people. I would spend so much money in gifting, in doing this, in doing that. 100 people will not revert, 100 people will
Yeah.
not notice. 101st person would notice me, and that one single person would be at the top of the food chain. And when I impress that one person on top of the food chain, all of my debts are cleared in one shot. So I think if you have these values set in place, you'll have a good time, but please invest at least 4 to 5 years before you quit. Like, it takes that much time.
Thank you so much for giving insights on why values matter, why your brand is not just your online presence, it is you and your internal self. And thank you for sharing the vulnerable part of your teenage and how awkward you were, and how now you have changed to impress people around you and the entire world. Thank you for actually sharing the limelight on the importance of reading books, watching videos, because the best help is you and not anyone else. Ansh, it's been a pleasure having you in this podcast. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and it's my absolute pleasure to have you in this podcast. I wish you the best in the future and everything that you do. To all our listeners, Ansh's social handle will be at the bottom. Please follow Ansh on YouTube, LinkedIn, X. He's there everywhere. I'm going to put all of the handles. Thank you so much, Ansh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Danny.
And for all our viewers, if you like this podcast, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next time, this is Danny signing off.